Okay, so just as a reminder, I don't have a camera on this computer. I could maybe do this on my laptop, but I'm going to try to do this. So what questions do you have? This is our review for, I'm going to do this really quickly. A review for this class. Now in Math 1040, just as a reminder, if you go home here, some things that you might want to look at, okay? Under assignments, things to review, your old quizzes, you should have them all except for the ones that we took today. They're all there. Your homework, here's your homework without the answer key. Your homework with the answer key is right here. We've also got videos and worksheets. I've been posting those there. Student-generated questions, okay? So these are the questions that your fellow students did. Some reminders here. You'll notice that the formatting on these is terrible. Please do not send me a PDF form, okay? Those are awful to copy, and that's why when you look at some of these, they look terrible because I just went copy and paste. Now, my preference would be that you simply use the text enter. And also, let me just show you some of these. Avoid bold, highlight, underline, red color, green color, anything like that. I have to download that file. The exceptions are if you're doing something that has a graph or a table that formatting matters, then it's okay to use a Word document. But if it doesn't, if it's just, a lot of you, please avoid true false. A lot of you love true false. I'm not going to put those on the test, okay? I'm just going to tell you that today. Unless it's a really amazing true false question that I think you'll miss, it's probably not going to go on the test, okay? Don't use PDFs. They look terrible. You can see in here. So let's just look at these, just so you see. This is basically what copy and paste looks like. You'll notice on today's quiz, one of those problems was in gray because that's what it does. If you are going to do something like, well, see, that's a true false, so that's probably not going to be on there. This one's not bad, but I don't know. I don't really. I'd rather you rewrote that as a multiple choice or something. But when you're doing these, please put the answers at the end, so that when you're doing it here, especially Stanley recently agreed to this, blah blah blah. Here's the answer. How are you? I mean, it would be nicer if the answer was at the end so that you didn't see the answer when you're studying it. Does that make sense? So when you're sending these to me, I'm literally copying and pasting, okay? And so if the formatting looks terrible, let's see if I can find a good terrible looking one. This one actually looks pretty good. Well, this gray one, that's probably a PDF. Well, I don't know if that was a PDF. That could have been a Word. So don't use Word unless you're making a graph or something like that you need it for. These actually, so please don't use bold. I had to download that, otherwise that would look terrible. Also, like this case, put the answers at the end. This one actually doesn't look as bad as some of the other ones. Let's go to the newer ones here. So like this one here. Oh, and I haven't posted Test Bank 6 yet because that was due just an hour ago, but I will post that later today so you can study that. See, this is a PDF, I'm almost certain. That's why it looks so terrible. It just doesn't copy well, and it takes me too long. I mean, I think these are great study tools. Also, remember, these answers could be wrong. Most of them are right, but some of them are definitely wrong, as you saw from the quiz today. So don't trust the answer, especially if you think it's different. Do it yourself. And if you guys want to ask me about any of these, now this one has. Oh, by the way, I'm glad we saw this. I don't know who submitted this quiz. Okay, this is the histogram maker that's built into Excel. I do not want you to use it for 2 reasons. Number one, I don't think that is available to you in the testing center. They have an older version. The new version of Excel does do this, but my version that I'm going to be grading you on doesn't read it. So even if it's available in the testing center, if I pull this graph up on my computer, this This might have been a Word document. But if I pull it up on my version of Excel, it's going to say this graph cannot be displayed, and I will therefore know you used the wrong graph. It's supposed to be a stock market graph. And I'm happy to do that. Yes? Yeah. So we can do that. Do you want to do that right now? Okay.
I missed the, what are we supposed to use?
What are we supposed to use? So my first choice, unless you're doing a graph, okay, is just to type in there. Type it, there's a text box that you can type in. You don't need to use Word, okay? Please do not use PDFs. PDFs are awful to copy and paste. The formatting looks terrible, and that's because it doesn't copy paste. You can use Word, but only if you're gonna create, you know, something like this where you need lines or you need a graph like that, then it's okay. But otherwise, you'll see, please don't use red. If you're doing a table like that, Word is okay, but I would like to avoid Word, and especially PDFs, if at all possible, because it's going to make it easier for you guys, because you're going to hopefully use this to study. Question?
Google Drive, okay?
That'll be just like Word, so is it okay? I'd rather you didn't. So, I mean, unless there's a graph, then it's okay. But I would really, if you're going to do something, I would really still rather save it as Word than a PDF, because the PDFs just look terrible. And literally, I'm just copying and pasting this. And so some of these look really goofy. All right, so do you want to go over how to create a box and whisker graph? The one that I can see, okay? This is how we're going to do this. Okay, so I need some data here. So here's what we're going to do. Equals rand between two numbers, 23 and 45. Okay, that's how you do random numbers, by the way. And then you can copy this down. We're going to have a bunch of numbers. Now you notice they keep changing. I want that to stop. So here's how you fix that. If you select column A, and then you right click and you say copy, and then you right click and you say paste special, and if you click on the 1, 2, 3 here, that changes it to a value. So now that formula rand between isn't there, that's just 23. And so now when I type, it doesn't change, okay? Now all of these go in here. I'm gonna put in a number like 88 because I wanna have at least one outlier on here, okay? All right, so now the question is, you've got some data here. How do you create a box and whisker diagram? Who remembers?
I'm kidding, I forgot.
Who remembers? You have to do the 5-number summary first, okay? Now, let's talk about how you do this on the computer versus, so we're gonna do computer versus by hand, because the methods are actually different, okay? How would you do this by hand? You really would need to sort your data. I will try my best. A lot of you didn't sort your data on there, which made it harder. I will try my hardest to sort that, especially when it's that big, okay? All right, so the first thing you should do is sort your data. Now, I do want to caution you guys, in the future, sorting your data could mess up things, but on this, it's okay. So just be careful, okay? Now, what is the 5-number summary again? Minimum, Q1, median, Q3, and maximum. Okay, if we're doing this by hand, what's the minimum? 23. What's the maximum? 88. What's the median? By hand. How do you figure that out? Find the middle number. So how many numbers do I have here? I've got 21. Oh, what a nice number. I didn't mean to make it that nice. Here, let's make it 22 because that'll be a little bit harder. 46. Okay, I'm gonna sort my data again here. Okay, so I've got 22 data points now, right? Okay, how do I find my median by hand? What'd you say? The two middle numbers. So 22 plus 1 is 23. 23 divided by 2 is 11 and a half. We're going to count to 11 and a half. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and a half. We're going to take those two numbers. Okay? What is the median? It's 36. Okay? Q1, how do I find that? What'd you say? We're doing it by hand. How do you do it by hand? We'll use that in a minute though. Okay. The question is, do I want to include the median or not? What's the answer to that? Yes, if. What if it makes it, you want to do whatever it takes to make it odd. Okay? So if I'm highlighting this here, if I don't include it, that's 10. If I include that number, that's 11. 11 is an odd number, right? 11 plus 1 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Okay, so I'm going to count the sixth one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That just became my Q1, which is 29. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom half. I'm going to count to the sixth one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This was a bad data set. There's too many duplicate numbers. That's all right. All right, so now, yes? So is the reason you went with 6 instead of the number between 5 and 6? Yeah, because I wanted to make it odd. Okay? We're going to see, usually when I do a data set, I don't have duplicate numbers like this. We're going to see if we get the same answer. We may or we may not. Okay? Yes? Here, let me do another one here, because the funny thing is my other class asked about this today. Let's say that I have, my numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? In this case, what's the median? The median is 3. What's the minimum? Minimum is 1, this is Q1, this is Q3, and this is maximum. Super easy data set, right? Okay, now, so this is your median right here, right? Now I'm going to erase this for a minute. Now let's pretend I have 6 data points. What's your median now? It's 3.5, right? I'm going to take the middle of those two values, okay? Now the question is, so my median is 3.5. Do I include the median when I'm doing my Q1? The answer is sort of, okay? I want an odd number here. If I include the top half there, that's an odd number, right? So therefore, this becomes Q1. This is the bottom half. This becomes Q3. Okay, does that make sense? Now, let's say that I have 7 data points. What's the median? 4. Do I include the median this time? No, because I want an odd number. Okay, so I do not include it this time. This becomes Q1, this becomes Q3. Okay, now I've got 8 data points. What's the median? It's 4.5, it's in between those two, right? Okay, now, if I include that in there, the median's actually not in there, it's 4.5. So if I included the median, I'm gonna highlight 5 here, because pretend that's really 4.5, okay? What's the Q1? It's now 3, Q1, and then I'm gonna include the 4.5 here, and that becomes your Q3. Okay, so it's confusing and it depends on how the median works, whether you include it or whether you don't. Okay, so I was hoping I had a better answer than that. I'm going to try to come up with something better, but that's how we're going to do it for the test. Okay, so that's the by hand. Okay, now let's go back to this data set. How do you do it with the computer?
minimum, we can either sort it and just select it, or we can hit equals min.
Equals min. Highlight your data. How do I do the maximum?
Equals max.
Equals max. Highlight your data. How do you do your median? Equals median. Highlight your data. How do you do your Q1? Equals quartile. Okay. I'm going to highlight this. And then I need to press a comma,
1.
and then 1. Close my parenthesis. Oh, I got a different number. Hallelujah. I didn't think I would. Okay. Now, can I copy that one and paste it? Excel will let me. And if you do that, you'll get the wrong answer. Why is it wrong? Okay. Number 1, it says comma 1, but look what it selected there. It went down 2 rows and it went beyond 2 rows. Okay. So if I want to copy this formula, I can, but I need to press an F4 on both of those. Okay. And when I copy it, I should get the exact same value again. Okay. So then you know it copied correctly. Now I just need to change this 1 to a 3. Oh, I'm glad those numbers are different. Okay. So 2 different methods. I probably would trust Excel over the by hand a little bit more, but I don't expect you to do that on the piece of paper. Okay. You need to know how to do this both ways. Question.
How do you have to test that? Are we going to be doing this same problem on paper in class, and then this same problem is to be on the test?
They probably won't be the same problems, but yeah, it could happen that I make you do this on the paper and on the computer. Okay. All right. So now the question is, how do you create the correct box and whisker summary? Because I'm pretty sure they don't have it, but I could be wrong. But even if they have it, I'm not letting you use it because I can't grade it. And if you use the wrong histogram maker, you're going to get how many points? 0. So how do you do this the correct way, the way I want you to do it? Yes. Okay. Now, if you don't have to remember this, but here's what we're going to do. I don't know what version of Excel I have on here. Before I do that, you're correct. I want date, open, high, low, close. Before I do that, I need to figure out my fences, right? How do I find my fences? I need to figure out my IQR, right? What's my IQR?
Q3 minus Q1.
Q3 minus Q1. So in this case, my IQR is 40 minus 29. In this case, it's 39.75 minus 29.5, 10.25. Now, by the way, I don't know, well, we'll finish off with this. I actually have a better data set that would work a little bit better, but we'll go with this since that's what I did. All right, so now how do I find my fences? So let's just multiply this by 1.5. So if I take that and if I multiply it times 1.5, that gives me 16.5 versus 15.375, okay? 2 different methods. Now my lower fence and my upper fence equals, lower fence is Q1 minus 1.5 times my IQR. Upper fence is Q3 plus 1.5 times my IQR. Okay, so I'm going to copy this over. Now the question is that I have, do I have any outliers? Yes, what's my outlier? 88, that's my outlier. Now, can I show you a better data set that I think is more interesting than this one? Let's see if I put it in here. Hopefully this is under here. We're about to find out. Not, I will find it. In-class worksheets. Oh, it's not there. Never mind. I have it somewhere else though. I'm pretty sure this is it. Okay, this is a sample of 18 collision claims. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sort it really quickly. Okay. I'm going to copy this kind of. Okay, so your minimum is now 180. Your maximum is this number here. Your median, let's see, how many do I have? I've got 18 there. 19, 9.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.5. It's the middle of those two values there. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it super fast though. So this one's got 18. Okay, so it's the middle of those two values right there. Okay. We've only got 10 minutes left, and I want to get to the end. This one is going to be the middle of the top half. So I've got here 9, right? 9 if I include that piece of the median. 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this becomes 735. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This becomes 4668. Okay. All right, now all the rest of those are the same. By computer, I could actually use the quartile function for all of these. Use the bottom quartile function. That's the favorite one. Okay. You're going to highlight your data. If you press F4 right away, it's going to be awesome. Then press comma 0. When you copy this down, it's going to give you the same answer 5 times. That's great. Now I'm going to change this to a 1, this to a 2, this to a 3, and this to a 4. Okay? Now, here's what I want to highlight. These numbers are different, and these numbers are different because they're 2 different methods. Okay? Now, according to this, my lower fence is negative $5,000. Okay? Does it make sense if you have insurance that you have to pay $5,000 to get your car fixed? No, the company pays you to get your car fixed. So that doesn't make sense. On the upper side, this is how much the insurance company had to pay. Do I have any outliers here with the by hand? If my upper fence is $10,567. Yes, $21,000 is an outlier, right? This one, the upper fence is $97.88. Do I have any more outliers? Yes, I've got 3 of them. These 2 here, I'll put those in orange, are also outliers. So this one has 21,147. This one has 10,034 and 99,08. So this one has 1 outlier because of the way I calculated it. This one has 3 outliers. Okay. Now, here's how you have to graph this. If you don't remember, go to Insert, and you should have a spider web looking thing like this. Okay? If you click on it, you go to More Charts. Oh, that didn't work. Recommended chart. Oh, never mind. No, you don't want to highlight your data. Just memorize this. It's going to make your life easier. Date, open, high, low, close. Memorize it. It's got to be in that order. It has to have those words there. Okay? Pick 2 dates. In this case, I've got 2. You could do 1 or 3 or however many you got. We're going to pretend these are 2 different Allstate or 2 different companies. So pick 2 dates. Any dates will work. Make them consecutive days though. January 1st, January 2nd. Use different dates. If you pick January 10th, you're going to have a big gap between them. Okay, so try to make them consecutive days. Okay. Your high is going to be the maximum. Well, it's either the maximum or the fence. Do I have outliers on the by hand? Yes. So do I use the maximum or do I use the fence? I'm going to use the fence on this one. Okay. On the high here, do I use the maximum or the fence? I'm also going to use the fence. On the low, do I have lower outliers? No, I don't have any lower outliers. Do I use the minimum or do I use the fence? I use the minimum this time. Okay, And the same thing here, I don't have any lower outliers, I'm going to use the minimum. Because I don't have outliers. That's the rule. So do you have outliers? If you don't have outliers, use the minimum and the maximum. If you have outliers, use the fence on whichever side you have outliers. Okay? So you got to think about it. You got to understand what you're doing. That's part of the reason. That's another reason I want you to do this by hand, because you have to think about it. You don't have to think about it if you just say drag and click. Okay? All right. Now the open is going to be your Q1. The close is going to be your Q3. Okay? The open is going to be Q1, which in this case is 735, and this case is going to be 751. Okay? The close in this case is going to be the 4668 versus the 4366. Okay? Does that make sense? Yes.
If you only did it by hand, then could you just do one date open, high, low, close, and then make one?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah. So the question, so I'm probably nobody heard you there. If you only had one data set, yeah, you wouldn't need the second line. You could just delete it. Okay. I'm showing you how to do this for two. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to highlight my data just like this. I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to click on my spider web thing here. I'm going to go to More Charts. Now, this is where you're going to use the stock market. Where is it? See, do not use that one. They're going to give you the wrong answer. It'll actually give you the right answer, but I don't want you to use it. Stock market right here. Okay? If you click here, it actually tells you open, high, low, close. It does not say the date. So that is one way you can get the information. You're going to have to remember the date in that case. Okay? Now let me just show you something. If you put, say, Allstate and you put State Farm here, and if you highlight this information, you go to the spider web, you go to More Charts, you go to the stock market chart, you click this, and it will not let you press the OK button. Why not? Because those are not dates. Those have to be dates. Okay? You can change them after you've got the graphs done, but in order to create the graph, those have to be actual dates there. Spider web, More Charts, go to stock market, pick the second one, press OK. Okay? Now, do I need open, high, low, close? Get rid of it. Now, I could change these dates. I don't want to change them here. I want to change them here. This is now Allstate. This is State Farm. Okay, now notice it changes it on my graph. Okay, now I need axis titles. What is this axis title here? This is cost of the claim. Okay, you could put insurance companies. Insurance companies. And then you could say comparing Allstate versus State Farm. Okay, now I've got outliers on here. My outliers at 20,000, my biggest one, right? What does this go to? 12,000. I need to change my scale. So I need to format my axis. I go over here to maximum. I'm going to change that from 12,000 to 20,000. Okay, that's great. Now I need to start drawing in my median. My median's missing, right? So you're going to go to Insert, you're going to go to Shapes, you're going to click on the line. The median is at 1802, so you're just going to eyeball that the best you can. And then you draw another line, and you'll eyeball this one the best you can. Okay, now I need to worry about my outliers. Okay, I've got, on this graph, I've got one outlier. So I'm going to insert shapes. I'm going to go to this circle, and I'm going to put this at about 21,000. And then I'm going to click on another circle, and I'm going to put it over here, also 21,000. And I'm going to pick another circle because I've got another one at 10,000. And I got another one at 9908, which is almost right on top of it. So just put it as close as you can. Okay. All right, are you going to learn that by Thursday? So just as a reminder, we've got the in-class test Thursday in this room. That it will be a written test. You also have the computer part. I'm going to give you unlimited time in the testing center. That must be taken Thursday or Friday. Now note, they close early on Friday. I think like 5, okay? If you want, and there could be a line, okay? Get there by a minimum at 3 o'clock on Friday if you want to take it on Friday. If you take it Thursday, you don't have to pay. If you take it Friday, it's going to cost you $4, okay? Oh, I need to collect those. Pass those this way. Question, while you're passing in your quizzes. Okay? So if I have an outlier, I didn't hear the rest?
Yeah, so if you have an outlier, you don't use the lower fence.
Okay, so it depends. Where is the outlier? Is it above the upper fence or below the lower fence? In my case, all my outliers are above the upper fence. So I'm gonna use the fence for my high, but since I don't have outliers here, I'm just gonna use the minimum. So you only use the fence if it applies to that side of the data. Yes. You do not have to submit questions. I just want you to study, and I want you to do really well, okay? So there's no homework due for Thursday. Just study hard and do well. Yes?
So you say you don't want us to make a histogram in Excel.
No, I want you to make it in Excel, but I don't want you to use the histogram maker. Yeah, I want you to create the categories yourself. If you want, we need to leave, but if you want to come to my office, I'll record a short histogram maker, or I'll show you some of my other videos, because I've done this in some of my other classes as well. If you want to meet with me right now, but we got to meet in the LA building, I will talk to you. Okay, I'm going to stop this recording here. Yeah, on the end of the table is fine. Let me go grab these before.